Hey guys, this is Anthony Morganti from anthonymorganti.com, and this is episode 163 of Photo Critiques. And in this episode, I'm pleased to critique the work of Steve Yapp. Steve sent me in some really nice images. This first one's a great shot. Love the sky, great processing, really well done. The sky and the buildings themselves. A couple things jumped out at me though, right when I looked at it. I don't think you did any lens corrections. I don't know how you process this, if you know what program you use to process it, I should say. But in Lightroom, we could easily correct for some lens corrections, and I could tell by looking at it, it's got some barrel distortion. Barrel distortion isn't what looks like the middle of the image is bulging out, like the middle of a barrel bulges out. And I could tell by looking at the lines here, they're bulging out right here, and it's distorting the columns. So it's usually more effective if you have the raw file than if you have the JPEG. But if I go to lens corrections, I just click enable profile corrections, you can see how it's straightened those lines right out. There's before and there's after. It straightened all the lines out really. And so, don't forget when you're processing, hopefully you're using Lightroom, which I recommend, and you just correct the, do the lens corrections, and it helps correct all that distortion. The other thing that jumps out at me a little bit is the shadows are really dark. And this, obviously, I mentioned many times in the past critiques, this could be because your monitor isn't calibrated properly. So you're looking at your scene and you're processing the images, and you think you're processing it, properly by what you're seeing. But when in fact, when you export it to a JPEG and then you print it, it's not going to look like this. Like you thought it looked. It's going to look really dark, and there's no detail in here at all. And the histogram gives it away. You can see we're all built up over here to the left side of the histogram, and when I hover over that little triangle there, that's your all that blue area is being clipped, so it's being clipped black. There's no detail in there at all. So it's easy enough to correct in Lightroom too, is we just bring shadows open. Open the shadows a little bit, and you can see we have a lot more detail. I might have brought them up just a little too much, but that's all right. We get the idea. There's before, there's after, before, after. And I like that you have the people in the shot. It really adds scale and interest to the shot, so we can see how big everything really is. So just one more time, there's before, there's after. This is a nice shot. It's hard to photograph. I mentioned in previous critiques, it's hard to photograph bike shows and car shows because everything's so close together. And what I like about this shot is Steve took a kind of an unusual angle, and we have this leading line of the fork of the chopper, and it leads up to the Chopper Club's sign back here, so we could see what the who they are, and the way the bike is situated helps our eyes lead right to it. So it's really well done. This is technically a really well shot. The only couple things I could suggest, these are the receding lines. We all take these shots of roads. Is just on a technical point of view, use a smaller f-stop. Usually f of 3.2 isn't going to give you it's not the best resolution of your lens. 2 to 4 stops up from wide open is where your lens is most resolute. So usually around f8, f11, do that, and that will give you better resolution, front to back. The other thing is just the scene itself. We got the car dealer over here, and we got some houses. There's not really anything overly compelling in this scene. And typically we like to take these shots out in the country, very long straight roads that we just see them undulating slightly up and down as they go off into the distance. And maybe in the far distance we see some mountains, or we see a city, or we see a car. So take this same idea, just use a smaller f-stop, but take it out into the country. It's a great shot. This is really well done. The only thing too is it is a little dark, again, like the previous, the first image. I think if we bring shadows up, and we'll bring out more detail in his eyes and feathers. And you can see I just brought shadows up, and we have like, we could see the bird's iris now, whereas before we couldn't. There's before, there's after. So we could see the iris of the bird, and you'll see there's more detail in the plumage. So again, you might have to calibrate your monitor. They sell monitor calibration tools at like Amazon.com that are less than $100, and they'll do a fine job. One that I recently tested out is by Color Monkey think it's, I can't remember now, um, the exact brand or the exact model number, but it was like, I don't know, $89. So you might consider getting one of those. That way, you know when you're processing your images, you're going to process them so when they print, they'll be exactly like they looked on your screen. And that's what you want. If you're going to sell prints, they have to, or if you sell these even to magazine publishers, they don't want to mess around and process your images. They need them processed properly when they buy them, so they could just put them in the magazine. So consider getting that monitor calibration device. This is a cool shot. Even at f14, you could see how limited the depth of field was. Looks like the focal point's right in here. Still, when you're shooting macro like this image would be ripe, a good image for focus stacking. Focus stacking is where you take several images and you take each one has a different focal point. So you might start here, one image here, focus here, focus here, focus here, focus here, and work your way through. Take several images till you have each one has a different focal point, but collectively you have the entire unit in focus. Then you take all the images over into Photoshop and you stack them in Photoshop and merge them into one image that is perfectly focused from front to back. And I will be doing a tutorial on how to do that in the near future. So hopefully I could get that done within the next few weeks. As I mentioned many times, I'm very still swamped with critiques. I'm going to be doing critiques for a while, and I have everything else kind of on hold until I get through all the critiques. Then I'm going to be doing these other tutorials I'm talking about, my Lightroom tutorials that are stalled, my Photoshop for photographer tutorial series. All these are free if you've never seen them before. They're on Lightroom and on my website. And the elements tutorials, and I have a lot of stuff where on scene somewhere showing you how to shoot something, a landscape, a portrait, stuff like that. So all that will be coming hopefully within a month. Typically when I see an image like this, I'd say that the bird shouldn't be here. It should be flying into the scene, not out of the scene. So they look more natural if they're over here and they're flying into the scene and they're looking into the bigger part of the frame. But this one image works, and it's a really nice image. And the reason why it works is we have this blurry boat over here that is very colorful. And over here, the other half of the frame is dominated by this, mostly black and white bird. We have a little color in the beak, but it's mostly black and white, and it's in perfect focus. So we have this part over here, which is the subject is mostly black and white and in perfect focus, and this part over here where the subject is very colorful but out of focus, and it really balances the shot. It's really a cool shot. It's very well done. And I told you many times, guys, in the critiques, you want contrasting elements. If you could get them, work them into your shot, contrasting colors, contrasting textures, contrasting types of focus. It just opposites look cool in an image. And really nice job. I really think Steve did a great job with this shot. And breaking rules. Who says you can't break rules? It's a nice shot. I like Steve didn't bullseye this. It's off to the side. I think this one is a little bright. We seem to be lacking some detail in the flower. You could turn exposure down. I think if you turn highlights down though too, you could kind of get back some of this detail that was I think lost in there. So there's before, there's after. Before, see, it's just subtle, but I think it does add some detail, and it seems to enhance the color a little bit too. It's a really nice shot. I like this shot a lot, and I like everything about it. I think this is one where you could work the scene. You might want to try taking another shot where you're eliminating like this, because it's really not adding to the scene. And don't get me wrong, I really like this shot though, but I think if we crop it, I could give you an idea what I'm talking about. I think something like that is a strong image too, and it's pretty cool. I like it. Doesn't, again, you don't have to be in perfect focus all the time. Give this kind of soft look because it's very dreamy look. It's f of 5.6 to blur the background out real well. So it's a really nice shot. This is a cool shot. It's a typical shot where we take these very long exposures, this 13 seconds, and any headlights or taillights of a car that drives through the scene become these streaks of light that go through natural leading line, or maybe an artificial leading line. Let's put it that way. It's cool. I like too they used f of 22 is a little small, but that gives you this really nice starburst effect. If you were at f of 4, this would have just been a blob of light. There wouldn't have been this burst of light here. So that's pretty cool. The only other thing I could suggest is the scene is, it's the town. If you live here or you visited here, it might bring back nice memories, but it's rather mundane. You might want to try to work the scene and see if you get an interesting, unusual element in the foreground or midground and still have these lines in the shot and these burst effect with the lights that are still. So it's something to think about, working the scene, see if you could do different focal lengths and different angles and different try to get something else in the shot. This is a really, really nice shot. I like what you did here. The light kind of gives this rim lighting to the child's hair. Really well done. The only other thing I could suggest with the shot, I like everything about it. It's f of 4, which is good, which really blurred the background out nice. ISO 100, 90mm lens, which is like a perfect portrait focal length. Very well done. But his face is dark. Now his face is dark because the sun's behind him a little bit. So the face of the child is dark a little bit. So what we want to do, whenever you're, what I like to, let me back up a little. Whenever you're photographing children, I like what Steve did here. He got low and shot up at the child. And, a lot of people just stand up. You're taller than the child, you shoot down. It doesn't look as good. Getting low and shooting up, or getting at least on the same level as the child, really enhances the shot. And Steve did a great job there. So I encourage everyone to do that. But I would brighten up the face of the child a little bit. And I'm going to do this real quick. Now you got to take your time and do it. Hopefully a lot better than I'm going to be doing it here. So wherever his skin, his face and neck, you can do his arm too if you want, but I'm save time. I'm not going to. And I'm talking just a little bit, so maybe not that much, maybe about that much. So there's before. There's after. You can see I brightened it up. Now, the next thing I want to do is brighten up his eyes. So I am going to get a new brush and I'm going to bring it down a little bit. I'm going to make my brush smaller. If you guys wonder, remember I have these Lightroom tutorials that explain how to do all this stuff I'm doing, and you might want to check those out. So we're just going to brighten up his iris like this, just subtly. And let's see how that looks. I'm sorry, I can't talk and process an image at the same time. I always have that problem. There we go. There's before, there's after. There's before, after. And see, now it's pretty subtle, but I think it does make the image pop more. So before and after. So don't hesitate to do that. Don't think you're over manipulating the image or anything. I know for a fact wedding photographers do this all the time. They often like to take a shot with the wedding party or the bride and groom with, outside in the shade, but the sun is behind the trees, and a lot of times you get these muddy looking face where it's dark, and they just brighten it up. That's all you got to do. And remember, you can brighten up the arm too if you want. But wherever is the skin of the child's face is, just brighten it up. That's it. That's it for Steve. Thank you very much for sharing your images with us. I really do appreciate it. I'd like to thank everyone that watches all my videos. Thank you very much. If you guys have time, go over to my website, anthonymorganti.com. I have all kinds of photography stuff over there. And I'd really appreciate it if you take the time, go over to YouTube and subscribe to my YouTube channel. My username is Anthony Morganti. That's it for now. I'll talk to you guys soon.